What's up, Faithbox? Happy Friday to you guys. We're back with day number 19, and today's devotional it actually changes and shifts gears a little bit, but I won't spoil it for you because it's kind of explained in the devotion. So here's what it says. Hosea chapter 4, verse 1. Hear the word of the Lord, O people of Israel. The Lord has brought charges against you, saying, there is no faithfulness, no kindness, no knowledge of God in your land. Now, we spent the majority of this month learning about God's faithfulness and what faithfulness looks like in our lives. But we must also share what God says about lacking faithfulness. The book of Hosea is a prophetic warning to God's people, calling out their lack of faithfulness to God's ways. The people had rejected God's laws and started living lives of selfishness, greed, immorality, lawlessness, and even violence. The Israelites were supposed to be God's distinct people, yet their lives looked just like the heathen nations surrounding them. This is why God sent Hosea to the people to bring charges against them, and at the top of his list was their lack of faithfulness. Now, actually, if you go read Hosea chapter 4, there's a whole list of charges brought against the people of Israel, but the lack of faithfulness was in verse 1. And then the last paragraph says this ought to serve as a stern warning for God's people today. We are called to be like Christ and to be faithful to him alone, not a political party or a social cause or even our own way of life. Now, this is really, really important, and this is really good. Because like we said, we talked a lot about faithfulness in our lives and faithfulness and what faithfulness in God looks like in return to us. But we've not talked about being or lacking faithfulness. And that's really important because throughout the whole of scriptures, you see both Old and New Testaments, stern warnings against God's people for lacking faithfulness. You know, we said in the beginning of the month that faith is kind of the thing that gets you to take the first step, but then faithfulness is what gets you to take every step after that. And when we lack faithfulness, when we don't have faithfulness, God speaks sternly and harshly against it. And I think one of the things, just kind of this last paragraph is that we're called to be like Christ and Christ alone and to be a loyal or allegiant to him alone. And this is really important, especially over the course of this last year, the last several years, whether, like it says here, political affiliations or social causes or different things that, we tie ourselves to. Even just the comforts and the conveniences of our own lives, those things tend to supersede or can supersede our allegiance and loyalty to Christ. And then what we end up doing is becoming more like that, more about our lifestyle, more about our political affiliation, more about our social agenda than we are actually about Jesus. And that is a scary place to be. In fact, I think God would come against us or will come against us when we choose to live in that. And so our encouragement, our exhortation today is to actually shift your focus if you feel like that's where you've been or that's where your life has been over the last few months or few years, to shift your focus onto the ways of Jesus, to be like him and to walk in faithfulness so that you can be honored, so that you can be rewarded, and most importantly, so that you can become like Christ. Hope this encourages you guys today on this Friday, and I'll see you back here tomorrow on day number 20.